Yeah, we're live. 707 867 All of that is good. So it is Friday night. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Actually, I am doing fantastic. Already went out with my lovely wife Lisa, and that as always is great. She's a gift from the gods. Tonight we're going to talk about the Nova, the Project Nova, the Bossa Nova, the Nova's Ark, all sorts of different names. I see I have a Freiburger shirt on, 18756543187265443 LS firing order. Thanks, David. And tonight we're going to talk about the Nova is going away tomorrow morning. So what that means is when the gentleman picks it up, the gentleman who won, the clock is actually officially starting. So the clock is going to start ticking for the Burnout. So it'll be 30 days. We can give them 31, I guess, from today, from tomorrow, which will be the 14th. So by the middle of next month, Burnout videos. That's right, or a Burnout video. So that will be awesome. So maybe I'll do a video tomorrow of us getting that thing ready and loaded up. It's basically ready to push out and go up on a trailer. And then we'll see what kind of powertrain he picks for that. I think that the transmission is probably going to stay, I think. But we don't know yet what I wonder my camera is not working here. At least my lighting is not working. But I don't know which engine he's going to pick. So that will be a little bit of a surprise, which is even better because if he just, whether he sticks something in there that's ordinary or whatever, that's good. As long as we see a Burnout, that's fantastic. I'm thinking he's going to go with something unusual, which I like. Something other guys-esque, which is awesome. And that will be good. So we'll do a video on that tomorrow, and we'll get that thing out and ready. And hopefully, I have more pieces actually for him when I go back down to West Tech. I forgot to get them the last time I was down there. I have a bunch of stuff in my storage that also goes with that Nova. So he'll have even more pieces to hopefully get it working and get it ready. And then ultimately, I want to take a ride in it and stuff, which will be really cool. Today, I put up a video on 1,000 horsepower big block Chevy combinations. It could be anything really, although I haven't done forced induction big block Ford stuff yet, which I want to do definitely. Could be LS stuff, but big block Chevy stuff, fairly easy to make 1,000 horsepower because and we've seen the formulas many, many times. When you start out with something that makes 4 or 5 or 6 or 700 horsepower, in some cases, I had one that made over 800. When you start off there, getting to 1,000 is fairly easy. With the 800 horsepower combination, all you have to do is we added Nitrous Express, simple plate nitrous system. We didn't even hit it with very much, 200 or 250 shot kind of thing. I think it was a 70 jet, and then we tried a little bit bigger jet after that. But that was fairly easy. Almost all these combinations made not just a little bit more than 1,000 horsepower. Some of them made substantially more than 1,000 horsepower. Like the Pro Charger, we put the F1A94 on a 496 build, and the 496 build did fairly well. And then adding that blower, which we know can easily make over 1,000 horsepower. In fact, we've made, I want to say, 1,250 or 1,300 or something with that blower on the 540. But running that blower on the 496, easy 1,000 horsepower, right past that, past 1,100s, and it was still climbing when we shut it off. So that's not a problem either. And then we did a couple of turbo applications. We did twin turbos. I did both the 454 that we ran the 2 GT45 turbos on. Again, those turbos can support 700 or more each, especially on a twin application because they won't be limited by back pressure. And on that big block, 1,000 horsepower, boom, no problem at all. Even on a fairly mild one that was only making a little over 500 horsepower NA. And then the 540 from Blueprint Engines obviously did well. You're starting out at 650 or something like that. And then on that particular application, we ran the 2 S475 turbos. Oh, excuse me. We ran the 2 S475 turbos, and that's 2,000 horsepower with a turbo. So making 1,000 horsepower with one of those might be a little bit of a chore, but making it with 2 of them was no problem at all. I think that happened at like 10 pounds or something. So it's nothing. We ended up running more boost than that. And so it's fairly easy. And that's, again, when you look at stuff, you should look at it like, okay, what's the formula suggest? If I have a 318 Dodge and it makes 400 horsepower, what do I need to get to 1,000 horsepower? Well, it's just 400 times some sort of number that gets you to 1,000. And that's fairly easy. It doesn't care that it's a Dodge. It doesn't care that it's a Nissan or a Lexus or whatever it is. If you start there, it's fairly easy to get there. And we showed that with the big block stuff. We can get to some fairly big power numbers. So, that's, if you guys get anything from all of these videos, that's kind of what I want you to get out of it. So that you can then apply, yeah, hey, Richard did a video on an LS and he made 1,000 horsepower. Yeah, but it's really not just about the LS, because he started out with a 4.8 that made 450 horsepower. Well, any motor that you start out with 450 horsepower, if you have enough turbo, can get you to where you need to be. It's just a multiplier. Now, whether or not that motor can take that, that's a different thing. Some of them can and some of them can't. The LS obviously can, and lots of other ones can, actually. Many more than people think, because as we've shown with these junkyard motors, if you have the tune right and you put ring gap in them and that doesn't hurt them, if the tune doesn't hurt them and the ring gap doesn't hurt them, getting to the point where something that's metallurgically not sound enough to make 1,000 horsepower is a little more difficult. That stuff holds together fairly well. So you can make those numbers. I don't know how. I mean, I wouldn't go out and run it in an endurance race at that kind of power level, because obviously it was never designed for that. But you can make a lot of power, and you can run boost on almost all these motors successfully, especially if you just take a motor that's all stock and put big injectors on it, put a pump on it, put a turbo on it, and run like 7 or 8 pounds. Really good things are going to happen, because anytime you improve the power output by 50 or 60% or whatever, it's a noticeable difference. If you were making 100 and now you're making 150, that's a lot. If you're making 300 and now you're making 450, that's a lot. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And those are the kind of gains that you get when you do forced induction, and it works really well. You can obviously get other big gains from nitrous and that stuff. So let's see what you guys have going on. This might be a shortened night. We'll see. We'll see how things go. What do you guys got going on tonight? Keyboard warriors. You have the firing order sweatshirt. Everyone, please send prayers to Justin Swanstrom from Street Outlaws because his car just got on fire. That's not good. Looks like a gun. That's a gun case in the corner over there. I do have a Daisy Red Ryder over there, and a 177 caliber pellet gun over there. 12V Cummings in the Nova. Yeah, that would definitely do burnouts. So Todd, you're going to build log manifolds instead of doing that will work. Schedule 40 stuff has been used a lot on turbo stuff. I know it was in a race with yours to do burnouts. It will be very cool. It will be cool to see it, move under its own power. My 2J is weak sauce under 15 pounds. Yeah, an NA 2J, especially an original turbo version, is not very powerful NA, which is why you don't see a lot of tests where guys like I do, where they run them NA and then run them under boost, because they're like, yeah, they kind of need boost. Deburring my freshly machined big block. I'm going to have to do a little bit of that, I think, on the 396. Dan saying you used to shoot 1,000-yard competition, but not with a Daisy Red Ryder, right? That would have some arc. Schedule 10, 321 stainless for turbo manifold seemed to be the way to go. I went down the rabbit hole on the YouTube stuff, watching them. What is it called? Dieseling the pellet guns. That was pretty cool. I hadn't ever tried that. Red Rider might be tough past 1 yards. You can actually grab the BB out of the air with a lot of those. I would like more about Ford 390 engines and stock farm horsepower. I would too. I have a 390, or I might have a 390, or I might have access to a 390 FE motor. My son's soccer coach might have one that I can run. Jack, you're back. Jack's back. Nice. Anyways, is the Etowah Stage 3 supercharger a good upgrade for Lawrence Tolman's 4.8 liter? Jack, what does he have on there now? Does he have a turbo on there right now? If he does, he doesn't need a supercharger on there. It has to be a spring pellet gun. That's what I have on mine. I have that one's a 177 with open sights, but I have the other one. It's kind of in the groove there. You can't really see it because it's kind of dark. But that's the one that we were sighting in last night or the day before yesterday that has a scope on it. And that was a 22 caliber pellet. Dan's class was a 308 Federal Gold metal match ammo. Nice. Did you do your own slugs? Did you turn them? Have you ever considered doing videos on Datsun L series straight 6 engines? I would like to. I've owned a few of them and I like them. I had a 240Z. I have a 240Z right now that obviously had the straight 6 and the L24, and then I had a 260Z too that had an L26. FGMM is factory ammo made by Federal. Yes, definitely import stuff. Lots of import stuff. It's all-wheel drive. Ripped from a GMC Cyclone, has a 8.1 liter turbocharged. Still, that's a good combination. His 8.1 is turbocharged. Still, what do you think? So, Jack, if the 4.8 isn't turbocharged, it needs to be. It would make a lot more power with a turbo than it will make with a blower. Have you seen 50 caliber pellet guns? I have not. Oh, factory ammo. Okay. Care to suggest ring gap rules for forced induction builds? Yeah, we normally put about 7 thousandths per inch of bore. Cracker, I have a 280ZX with an EFI L28. I used an L28 head on my 260 because it had the big valves. Yeah, there are some pretty impressive air rifles these days. The projectile speed's pretty fast. It's like a 22 long rifle. You need to find a 3.3 liter LD Nissan short block. Yeah, I build the stroker stuff. That's from way back. I shoot a 50 BMG at 1,000 yards. Oh, you shoot it in competitively. Nice. Is it what are you shooting? Is it a Barrett Light 50 or what is it? Running a 468 for the summer. Jack, well, if you're gonna post on there, just have Lawrence give me a call. I mean, I've spoken with him through comments before. If he wants to know how to make that 4.8 make as much power as the 8.1, it's fairly easy. It's not difficult. We can do it with a single. We can make the 4.8 make 1,000 horsepower with a cam and springs and a turbo. I don't know how much power he wants. Okay, so you have a single shot match rifle. Okay. Well, they have single shot versions of the Barrett, but I'm sure yours is like extra fancy. Casey, does it have a muzzle brake on it? Does it have a cushion pad or an absorbing pad on it? How much recoil is there on the 50? I have one of those Israeli pellet guns. I don't know what that is, but the one that I have is it's really good for squirrels. Father has a 1963 Ford Galaxy that he and his friend said it would be burn the tires off, lay 3 telephone lengths of posi. Cop cars could not catch it. Must have had 450 to do those things. Sometimes the stories don't equate to like what the dyno results actually do. So sometimes that's not the same. But a 390 could make power. Angry, putting a 1071 blower shop this winter, mostly for looks and sound, but it needs treatable. 20 ring gap, maybe 7 pounds. If you have the thing apart, I would put more than 20 thousandths ring gap in it. He's looking for something around 800 to 1,000, but he's looking for more torque. The 4.8 at 1,000 horsepower is going to have kind of a laggy turbo on it. For 800, he could do fairly well with the turbo selection. But a small camshaft and a turbo would get him there without any problem at all. Other than being annoying, do crackle bang tunes actually hurt the motor? I don't know what exactly that is. Like, I don't know what they're doing to make it do that. Yeah, 50 kicks like a mule. I know. I've seen guys shoot Barretts and stuff. The 50 with no muzzle brake or suppressor would, yeah, would suck to shoot. I could imagine. It's one of the most powerful pellet guns on the market. Okay, Todd. Car was wiped out by an old oil truck. The 4.8 likes a 78, 75. That'll work. It'll be kind of laggy, though, on a 4.8. You can reach out and touch somebody 1,000 yards away. You can touch somebody 1,000 yards with a pellet gun. That seems like pretty difficult to do. With a 50 caliber, that's certainly possible. Oh, yeah, the muzzle brake is as big as your head. It feels like 243. When hunting rifle, weighs 35 pounds. I shoot a 750 grain bullet, 3,000 feet per second. Oh, yeah, that's all of it. Jack, all right, thanks. Yeah, just have Lawrence give me a call. We can work something out. I could put together a combination for him. It's not a problem. He just needs a 4.8 with a small camshaft in it, like the torque cam or stage 1 truck cam, and then he needs a turbo on it. And he needs to keep the 706 heads. He needs a truck manifold. He needs all of that, and then just put a turbo on it that's fairly responsive, and it would easily make as much power as that 8.1. It's what they claim. I'd like to see a pellet gun that would go 1,000 yards. That's pretty far to not have a lot of drop. After buying that car, I found a new dual plane intake and 2 Holley carburetors in the trunk. Nice. Who's the old timer that would shoot balloons at 1,000 yards on a 9mm pistol? Was it the Sundance Kid? Oh, it's air charged. Oh, so is it a CO2 one then? Would an HX35 turbo from a Cummins support a 5.9 liter Magnum? Yeah, but not at a ton of power. Trajectory is about 45 degrees, like an artillery shot. So you're just lobbing them in, basically. It's more like a mortar at that distance. Richard, do you have experience with testing anti-lag and seeing the effects it has on impeller blades and cats and other parts that might be affected by combustion? I don't. I've only seen it done on my buddy Jimmy's NSX and stuff. I haven't. We don't test that obviously in the engine dyno. It has 18,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. Yeah, that's a lot. Bob Munden was the guy who shot balloons at yardage. Seriously good shot. Nice. Pizza's in the house. an Air Force Texan caliber 50 pre-charged pneumatic rifles. It sounds like it from the. Why is my? What's going on here with my? Why is my? Why am I not getting any? That's weird. Huh. Don't know what the heck's going on. Trying to get some more light, but my for some reason my camera is not cooperating. Oh, I do need to put a poll up, right? Okay. Okay, the poll for tonight. Will the new owner be successful in getting the Nova to do a burnout in 30 days? Boom. Whatever, chat, can you discuss all things manly men do? And Richard, too. BB guns are handy for bringing me back to Earth when the helium balloons on my deck chair take off. Yeah. You're like up. Have you seen anyone use Dragon Slayer cranks? I have. That's like 2.25 or 2.5 stroke. I'm playing with the idea of putting together the lightest rotating assembly possibly, and I want mucho engine speed. Russell, the the crankshaft's not limiting your engine speed. It's going to definitely be drivetrain. Bullet travel time for a 50 BMG is about 1.25 seconds. Did anybody watch the Mythbusters episode where they were shooting at distance and seeing if they could see the shot happen, like they could see the fire, if there was enough time for them to jump out of the way of the bullet, and at what distance they could do that at, which I thought was an awesome thing. I have a 2016 Dodge Charger X police car, cop tires, cop suspension, cop brakes. 2008 Ford F-150 4.6 engine in that truck will fry the tires. Nice. Not a Ford Lightning truck, but has way more power than stock. No power adds. STX model. Cool. I want to go play Roblox. Nice. That's good, Jack. Yeah, have him get a hold of me, man. I pressed the wrong button. Can I change my vote? Yes, you can change your vote. What engine did you give him? I didn't give him an engine. He just got the car. Last night, I can't remember laughing at it. That's because we were doing pop culture. We were doing Caddyshack and Stripe, all the good Bill Murray movies, Caddyshack and Stripe, and Holy Grail, and all the good ones. I used to 10 targets in the pits at 600 yards and 1,000 yards. You hear the supersonic crack as a bullet zips overhead. The boom from the rifle comes much later. Yeah, Mythbusters was really good. Not sure if you put out a video on this. Planning on going with a VS Racing 7875. I have one of those. I think I took it back down south. This is with my 6-liter. Nice. I see it comes in many AR ratios. Do you have any videos on response rate versus AR for the 7875? The AR ratio is going to affect the response rate of that turbo minimally. The things that are going to affect it much more than that are the power output of the NA motor, more specifically the low speed power output of that. So the more torque you make down low, it's going to affect it much more. The displacement, because that's also power output down low, much more than AR is going to. If you go from a 1.0 to a 1.15, you might not even be able to measure that change in response rate. If you go from a 0.68 to a 1.32, you probably could measure that. Foreign automobiles, yes, you can. I know that's the thing I'm telling you about. You cannot get 100%. I'm voting yes, so I'm pretty certain that will happen. I know, but just think about it this way: that's just fuel for your fire, for your hate fire. All of the people that said no, that doubted you. Russell playing Jessel shaft mounts, lots of valve and intake, getting a custom cam made. There are several things driving the lightweight rotating assembly, not just engine speed. Okay, that's good. It will make more power with the lightweight rotating assembly. Tucker, I'm running an SS2 cam at port 862 heads, hoping it will make at least decent down low. Yeah, the SS2 cam's not great down low, but a 6-liter with 862 heads in that cam is not going to be bad. It'll be fine. With that cam, with that turbo, it will work. Todd has faith in you, Foreign. My stepfather has a 1985 Rockwell camper partying out, has a 454 big block, big carb, good engine to put in a vet or other 60s muscle car. That would be good. My hate fire will be the old grease on the subframe that will light off from all the welding. I don't think you're gonna have trouble with that. I think you're gonna have trouble with the welding burning through the rust. You can, yeah. You have to use a special rust rust rod for the welding. What the? Why is not that thing not working? Go out with your wife and come back, and your computer just falls apart. Richard, love your videos. I have a small block Chevy 427 Dart block Iron Eagle 230, a 427. Wow, nice. 230 heads, all forged Molly pistons, Ohio crankshaft. The cam is a 660 lift, 272 duration. Is it 272 at 50? It sounds like from the rest of the things that it should be. Why do 108 low set cams sound so good? They're going to add a lot of power in the lower part of it, but they're going to hurt idle quality. They're going to sound very cammy. I once brazed some rust as headers that were full of holes. It worked. Good. I've seen guys try to burn through it, and it seems iffy to me, but I'd rather just grind it off and then weld the steel part. Yeah, 272 at 50. That's a real size cam. Can you weld Bondo? You just have to use the right sort of rod. Coat hangers, I've seen stuff guys weld with that, and they didn't even clean the coat hanger. It looks like the one that I saw. JB welding Bondo, that works. I recently welded up a crack in my cast iron turbo manifold. That should actually work. Did you heat up the manifold before you did it? I'm a certified JB welder. So did you go to JB like night school? I'm going to see if I can make this thing a little bit brighter. I'm taking this off. Let's see what happens. See what happens to my camera. See if it freaks out. Not that much. But I can wear the lampshade on my head. It's all good. Okay. I have a 6-liter LS with a Phytech kit on. Any ideas on how to quiet down the IAC whistle? Does the Holly stuff do it too? I don't know. Why is it whistling? Is it open too far? Most of which I do is TIG. That's impressive. Everything with cast iron sucks. Stick in the oven to cool it down really slow. Richard, what do you think happened? I found a little piece of my windage tray lattice stuck to my oil drain magnet while changing the oil. The engine doesn't make any noise. It doesn't knock. The only thing I can think is it's hitting something. Did the crank hit it and on its way around and knock it off? Was there an interference problem? Oh, Gru, so you used a special TIG rod that said no preheating required. Cool. Cracker Jack, I have a 5.2 Magnum with a few goodies on it. Makes about the same power as a modern 5.7 Hemi, but with much less mile per hour, even at cruise, air fuel. Are you saying that it runs less mile an hour in the quarter, or is it mile per gallon that you're talking about? I'm sure that's an MPG instead of an MPH. Even at a cruise of 15.2, any way to improve that? Gearing, tire pressure, parasitic loss. And you're I don't know if it's carbureted or not. If it's fuel injected, that would be better, because it checked both sides to make sure that 15.2 is happening on both sides of the engine, and then check to make sure that it's happening on all the cylinders. Old school farm tough, big block. Could I run a 700 lift cam with Jessel rockers with a 272 duration on a 108 and make more power? I didn't see what you were talking about before. What was your lift before? 6 in the 600s or something? Oh, 660 lift. Those heads will certainly flow at 700. So maybe. The lampshade doesn't make anybody brighter. I was hoping. Is stage 2 cam good street cam? Will it sound good? LQ9, rec port heads, LS3 intake, 92 millimeter stock crank pistons rods, good for 500. Raymond, take a look at the video that I have up with all the Brian Tooley stuff. I ran all of their truck cams. I don't know if you're talking about a truck cam stage 2, because there's lots of different kinds of stage 2. Stage 2 turbo, stage 2 truck, stage 2 NA, stage 2 LS3. There's all kinds of different stage 2 cams. So I'm not sure which one you're talking about. A stage 2 truck cam will not make 500 horsepower. I'm sure I missed it, but have you said what the guy with the Nova is putting in? I have not. I've specifically not said that so that it's a surprise for everybody. Tooth filling resin. That's interesting. I don't know if I've seen that done before. Did anybody realize? Look at that. That's my it's my Civic at SEMA. My lovely wife, who is my SEMA model. Now I'm confused which stage 2 to recommend. What are you trying to get done? Just Larry, do valve springs wear out if they're all the way down when the engine hasn't run for 10 years? They don't wear out, but it's not going to be terrible. But it can lose. Like if you take that spring off and test it, it could be down from the others. Any pictures of the Fox body? I have a set of old school Canfield 200cc heads of my small block Chevy. I run Canfield stuff a lot. Is it normal for a standard Victor Jr. intake ports not to line up, or I'd have to go paper thin on the intake to port match it? What's happened to the block? Has the block been decked? Have the heads been decked? All of that stuff is going to affect whether the intake goes on. Has the intake been machined? Yeah, I buried my SEMA model. The factory LS manifolds are cast steel, so you can weld them much easier than cast iron. There's nothing like a Honda with turbo VTEC. This one went fast. It was a great car. I like the way that those look. They look like little BMWs to me. 3 Series BMWs. They don't cost nearly as much, and they sound really cool when VTEC kicks in. Kind of like that. So that turbo Honda guy's disabled the VTEC. That was going around when I first got into this, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago, whenever. Guys were telling me that you couldn't. First, they were telling me that you couldn't turbocharge VTEC motors. You had to turbocharge only the non-VTEC stuff, like the LS and GS, the 1.8 liter non-VTEC stuff. I'm like, why would the VTEC care about a turbo? I said, if anything, it would be better because you'd have more low-speed power with a smaller camshaft. That should work perfectly. Oh no, it doesn't like VTEC. Turbos don't like VTEC. I'm like, that's not really a thing. And lo and behold, I didn't create that, but I was just, the people that I was talking to were very well known in the industry, and they were drag racing at the time. They were import racers, very big import racers at the time. And I'm like, why wouldn't that work? I want a 1970s 2002 BMW. Yeah, a TII would be really cool, or a turbo would be very cool. Just with all the power that the Honda's made, I wish they were all-wheel drive. Yeah, the stuff that the PFI guys are doing and the Boosted Boys are doing with their all-wheel drive Hondas, that's impressive stuff. That's really what you need to have on the street, because they can, like with especially with a K series, you can make a bajillion horsepower, and if you can get that thing hooked up, it can frighten a lot of people. I would really love to have a K series in a Dodge Omni. What is your recommendation when getting a motor that's been sitting for a long time? I would take the plugs out. I would put a bunch of lubricant in it, like oil or WD-40 or whatever. And then I like to spin them over by hand just to make sure that they rotate. The early TIIs were mechanically fuel injected, if that was the question. I want a turbo K24 transversely with a Honda Trans mid-mounted, but in a street Manx buggy. Okay, that's fairly specific. Remember the Honda Del Sol? I owned one of those and ran it in Motorola Cup, and then ran it and won the U.S. Touring Car Challenge in it, like this one right here. Like, look at this. Here's a photo. Here's a photo of the one that I had. Like that Del Sol? Yeah, U.S. Touring Car, what's up? Killer Bee Racing. That's why we painted it to look like a bumblebee. I like the Del Sols. I like hatches better, but that car was really good, and I felt at home in it, and it was fun. My dad picked up a nice 97 with a V16 in it. That one was originally an SI with a V16 in it. The way the way the roof worked with the trunk, yeah. A Honda Beat, nice. Any good books about engines that you recommend? I ordered Advanced Engine Technology book that you mentioned the other night. I've just thrown away a whole bunch of stuff. I should have just set it outside the house and let everybody come pick it up. I have a bunch of books that I got rid of. I have Corky Bell's book and Hugh McKinn's book and all those turbo things. I like the back windows in the Del Sol. Yeah, those weigh a lot, by the way. When we stripped it out to road race it made a big difference. Is it worth going from comp Magnum rockers to shafts? I had a 427 small Chevy that was talking about earlier. The motor sounds insane. The power hits hard at 4,000, but I feel it has more. I would think that combination would have shaft rockers on it. Because that sounds like a lot of motor. Yeah, you don't want to. You want to wade into some of these books like that. Even that book that I have, that's Heinz Hessler's book, Advanced Engine Technology, I think. Yeah, Advanced Engine Technology. It's heavy on some formulas too. I'd love to have a Del Sol with a power roof. Power Seekers by Spokey Unique is also good. The factory B16 Del Sol would be nice for California. It is a fun car. I mean, I just like I liked the inside. I liked how the car handled. It's Comp Magnums. Comp Magnums are also fairly heavy, I think. Both my Del Sols were non-VTEC. Well, it was a single cam VTEC, right? It was a D16, right? Del Sols look like they should be mid-engine cars. They do kind of look like that. And that's what they always compared them to. They would always compare the Del Sol like to the MR2. Which I had. I also had an MR2. I had an 86, which I loved. 86 Fiero GT. I would like one of those with the 3800 in it. How is our poll doing? Will the Nova owner will the new Nova owner be successful in getting the Nova to do a burnout in 30 days? 81% saying yes. 81 really on these polls is the new 100. Just so you guys know. I had Bill Jenkins referred to as some old guy from the 70s. Yeah, because they didn't know anything back then. What did Jenkins ever win? Everything. I was thinking of a Del Sol with a VX engine and trans. Do you think it would still get fit? It won't be as aero as the hatch is, because the back area, the trunk and stuff, is not nearly as good as a hatch is, but it'll still do well. The 4AGE and the low style suspension and the early MR2 was great. I like the way that they look too. I like the way that they looked better than the newer ones, even though the newer one had a 2-liter engine and stuff in it. I like the early ones, but I wish it had more power though. I'm thinking about turbos on TBSS. That works fine. I want an Indy pace car Fiero. Guys are talking about Fieros. I found a Fiero book. I wonder if I still have it here. Cosworth Ford Racing. I'm thinking it's here. Not you. Ford Motorsport. Oh, here we go. This one, and this is the one that Dan was asking about the other day. I think that's it. It's race engine technology. Twist of the Wrist is also another one that I recommend. And anything Bloom County or Far Side also. So this is another one, race engine technology that I have that has fairly involved stuff. But take a look at this. Look at this gem. Yeah, I know you're all jealous. Pontiac Fiero GTP Performance Handbook. Chassis setup. Look at that. Yeah, yeah. Clutch, brakes. In case you want to build a GTP car, they have their, which is very important if you ever go racing. They have their chassis setup stuff. You have to have this so you know if the thing's going to be working. And then I have the one on the GM one, so that's their GTP car. I think did Lynn St. James drive this? Very cool. Any experience putting a turbo on a Honda CRZ? I don't. I haven't, never done that. But it can't be any different. The purple and yellow Indy 500 pace car Corvette. Yeah, that was not good. So all Americans are overweight. Nice. I like that. I like that when we generalize. Ever driven an NSX on a road course? I have. I had a 91 NSX. I driven it on a couple of different tracks, and it's amazing. And it's more amazing than people even realize when you go to modify it. I heard that they ended the Fiero. What ended the Fiero was they wanted to put a turbo quad 4 in it, and the one they built was faster than the Corvette, and Chevrolet said no. That's an interesting story. I wonder if it's true. I mean, a turbo quad 4, just a quad 4 in the Fiero would be awesome. Like a 200 horsepower one would be amazing. Would have been amazing. A turbo one that made 300 horsepower would be even better. I wanted to race my Fiero GT with a 90s Beretta GTZ with a quad 4. I also had, but I couldn't figure out how to drive both of them. Watched a video of a sub 1,400 pound Porsche 911. That's pretty low. VX is 2,200 pounds. I think my Chevy Sprint Turbo was 17 or 1,800. Fires and warranty and legal action. That's all stuff. Am I the only one here that thought the Berettas were cool? I did ride in a 3,100 swap Fiero. It was nice. The supercharged 3,800 stuff in the Fieros work good. And there's a guy that comes into West Tech that has had a number of different engines in his Fiero because he road races it. And he had a V8 in it, which he liked. Now he's got an Ecotech in there. It's an NA Ecotech, but it's nicely balanced, and he wins in that. I only saw the topic for last night's show about turbos and supercharger. Was our conclusion? Well, we did do a poll. We wanted to know if turbos would completely replace superchargers, but we could never get 100%, and I don't think that they will, anyways. This is the 427 small block guy again. I have the nitrous outlet stinger. The rings are gapped at 23,000, so I was going to shoot a 200 shot. I think that's a 4125 bore. I don't think that's enough. You probably will get away with it, but I would like it to be more than that if you're running nitrous. The Berettas had the cool door handles. Yep. Russell, you're out. Thanks, man. 81%. That's amazing. So Dan's telling you that the ring gap will work, so you have it on good authority. We've run 300 shots on junkyard motors, so and had it work for a while. Richard, you ever going to race again? Yeah, I want to go to Bonneville again. I want to do a 1 liter car at Bonneville. There's a good reason nitro funny cars run screw blowers. Yeah, old school. If it is that size displacement, it's got to be a 4125 bore block, because it's hard to get the displacement from continually stroking that. You just run into rod and cam clearance problems. I've run at Speed Week before a few times. I don't like Speed Week as well as I like the meet that's in between Speed Week and World Finals, because that's run by the Utah guys, and there are fewer people than there are at Speed Week. At Speed Week, you might get 500 or 550 people, and lots of them break down and leave. And so later on at Speed Week, it gets more manageable to get in line and run. But otherwise, it's a lot of waiting at Speed Week. And so if we go to the other events, it might be less than half of that number. So it's much more manageable, and it's still the same people running the event, and you still set records and stuff. A 1 liter bike would be, yeah, I don't know that I want to ride as fast as a 1 liter bike will go at Bonneville. Wasn't there a Beretta that had a 471 blown V6 with the blower sideways on the hood? Yeah, because it's front wheel drive in the magazine years ago. I don't remember that, but that's possible. Imagine doing 227 on both 2 and 4 wheels. I'll pass on that. How treacherous is the sun and weather at Bonneville? I mean to be there as a spectator. You want to bring, I would bring lots of sunscreen and long sleeve shirts and long pants and a hat. Most times people, because it's hot out there usually during Speed Week, sometimes it's cold, but you get a lot of reflection off of it's when you step out there, you're like, I'm in the snow. This looks like I'm in the snow, but it's hot, and you get a lot of reflection off of the salt. And so you get sunburns are very, very common out there. So try to cover everything so that you don't get sunburned. And I would wear white and not black. A 1 liter bike could get you a red hat. A 1 liter bike can go 200. Honda Insights are good. They're very aero. The guys at Hasport spun theirs, though. I think that they spun theirs at El Mirage, though. A big full brim hat. I usually wear the big hats. And you got to be careful that the reflection off of, if you're wearing shorts, that the reflection doesn't go up your shorts. That's not good. I want to do 100 miles an hour on a 36 horsepower VW. I think that would be possible. A Karmann Ghia probably would be better than a Bug. I think it would be more aero, seems like. A Ghia. We helped a guy out there that had a Whizzer, if you know what that is. It's a motorized bicycle essentially, and he had a great story. He was going through tech, and they weren't going to let him run, and we helped him out so that he could get his thing going. And his grandfather had given him this thing, and he wanted to get it running, and came out, and he ended up setting a record because everybody like jumped in to help this kid because he had no money and didn't really understand the vehicle and the engine and all that stuff. And so everybody jumped in and was helping him with, tire pressures and getting his motor running and gapping his plugs and doing all kinds of stuff. And I want to say he went like 36 or 37 miles an hour or something like that. What's the unicycle land speed record? They have records for everything. So I think a bar stool would be a good one. They have golf carts out there. They have Cushman's. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, Whizzer is really cool. Someone on YouTube has a small scroll charger feeding a Harbor Freight engine inside. Oh, that's good. World's fastest Indian. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I mean, you see a guy like that, and you definitely would want to help him. I mean, that's for me. That's kind of what racing is. You should be helping other people. I know that Volkswagen engines respond to runner length. Big surprise. And if I was running fuel injection on one of them, even if I was running carburetors, but if I was running fuel injection on them, the fuel injectors obviously would be at the top of the inlet side. At the radius air horn like this. Whoa! And I have another fancier one too. I don't know if it's fancier, but it's different. This is the super radius. So that should have been my poll for tonight. Which one of these flows more? Are these the same? Yes, they are the same. So these are the same outlet or inlet, depending on which direction you're going. Which one of these flows more? Look. Wah, wah, wah. Fancy stuff, huh? You have a mountain unicycle? That's pretty serious. Did they ever post the speed that the Williams F1 car went? I think they did. It's not that fast though. Would it be the same since it necks down to the same diameter? The radius of the entry makes a difference in total flow. Salad bowl always wins. That's right. So we're going to shut off our poll here at 79% saying yes on the positive that the new owner of the Nova will be able to do a burnout successfully in 30 days. Super Richie radius, that's right. The parabolic one with a quarter radius. I like that. Hey, Richard, what about an LSA blower installed on a new cheap Lincoln LSC 32 valve? Yeah, you can bolt anything on there that you want, as long as you have an adapter. The bigger one will flow more. Do you like profiler heads? I think I don't even know if I've run profiler heads. I know that they've run a few of those at West Tech, and they seem to work fairly well, but I don't think that I've run them. I have Terry Coverman. I'm sure if you guys are familiar with him, he's on YouTube and does Facebook and all that stuff. He's out here for a wedding, so we're going to get together and do a live feed at one of my favorite restaurants. He's been out here before, and we had a nice long discussion. I bring that up because somebody brought up LSA blowers. because he wants to do some testing with LSA blowers, and I don't have one. So he was going to try to get me one to do some testing with. Now that I've done this GT500 one, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, the salad bowl did fairly well. Has anyone explored the super hot lean mix engine? The Smoky Unique one, is that the one you're talking about? Those stacks look like something they would do on a Weber. It is actually. This one was actually for a fuel injection from the guys at Dynatech. I think now the company, I think Borla or one of those companies now owns them. And what they had were throttle bodies assemblies that look like downdraft Webers. And so they had these air horns on them that slid in, and they had the little retainers that hold them in. But they had the fuel injection inside the carburetor body, which was kind of cool. And then you could run what looked like kind of standard carbureted. I mean, you had to have good line and stuff, standard carbureted stuff to run the fuel injection stuff to them. And all of the injector wiring and stuff, connected to the injectors was inside, and then it came out the bottom, so you could kind of hide that. So basically, I think that they did it ostensibly for Ford applications, for 427 Cyollars and 428s and 351s and 302s and those things, where they used the Shelby style, downdraft and cross ram kind of carburetors, and they did it with fuel injection. And that was the story that I was telling you. We ran stuff like that on the because they would also fit, because it was a standard 48 IDA or some kind of pattern. So it would go right in place of a Weber carburetor on a Volkswagen. And so what I did was take these stacks and then just put extension tubes on them and raise this up. And I'm like, look, voila, you made a lot more power. Richard, do you own a Fox body? Yes, I'm the original owner of a 1988 5-liter LX notch. Team G, wait a second. Team G manifold on set T1 Brodex head, small book Chevy, go to 8,000. It will go to 8,000, but it's not gonna. It's unless you have a lot of stuff going on, it's not gonna want to make power at 8,000. Are 243 and 790 heads worth hunting for versus a 706? Not on a 5.3, they're not. You just have to turn the air cleaner lid over. That's right. That's all I have to do. The wall. Shot glass stabilizer. They will work as a shot glass. That's what I told them. I remember wanting to buy them because they had those Weber bodies, and then they had these two things, but one of them was a salt shaker and one of them was a pepper shaker, and in the middle they had toothpicks, which I thought was really cool. But they wanted a fortune for them. Silver State Classic. Are they still doing it? You have an 88 notch there. Nice. What setup would you run on your Fox? Like what do you try? Depends on what you're trying to get done. I ran an 8.5 to 1 Wiseco forged piston, trick flow, KPI, high port head, some sort of ported Cobra manifold, and a Vortec on mine back in the day. And we had suspension stuff and all kinds of things done on it when I was running at the Silver State. Kurt, I'm running 2 weird Caterpillar remanufactured Garrett turbos on my 472. Is it a Cadillac 472? GT 2871Rs, 48 trim compressors. You're running one of each of those? 76 trim T4 twin scroll. Isn't the GT 2871, isn't that going to be a T3? You've never seen pictures of the Fox body? I have in the live feed, I have a picture as one of the thumbnails. I haven't ever done a rotary though. I mean, I have done testing on a rotary on a chassis dyno, but not on an engine dyno. I just threw away those kinds of boxes. I just threw away boxes of Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords magazines from back in the day when the 5-liter ruled the world. The Fox, my Mustang isn't working right now because it doesn't have a motor in it. Richard, I'm asking about the last of the 4 cams you tested on the 6-liter, the biggest needed the part number. I don't know which 6-liter you're talking about. I have 900 videos up, so I don't know which one you're talking about. And I'm not going to know the part number off the top of my head unless it's a sloppy stage 2, if that's enough of a part number. What was the fastest you ever ran? The Porsche 917s were doing 250 at Le Mans, if I remember right. Nobody did 250. I think the Peugeot, when they turned it all the way up to try to get the fastest qualifying number, I think was 248. A 917 never went that fast. At the Silver State, I averaged 167. I think the fastest I've ever been there was 193 before the motor blew up. Richard, I'm asking too many questions, but I was watching the engine masters on the Big Bang. I have a 6-liter Chevy with 418,000 miles. Ours didn't have that much. I think ours only had 250. Let's throw 1,500 horsepower to it. We've already done that a bunch of times. Well, not a bunch of times. We've done that once, I guess. Which video is a Dodge 360 Edelbrock test? I don't have a video up on that. I did run that test, and an Edelbrock aluminum head compared to a stock head doesn't really gain you very much unless it's ported. Yeah, and Le Mans has changed dramatically since back in the day when they were running the full length of the straightaway. Did the engine blow at speed? Yeah, it started throwing stuff on the windshield. It was not good. Have you seen the Porsche 919 totally uncorked on the Nürburgring? I have not. I've not seen that video. That's not the same though as a you know, a 5 or 6 mile straight. I have an 84 Thunderbird, a little more aero. $193. Yeah, that car was fast. I mean, it would, because it would kept with the Vortec, it would kept making more boost and more power with RPM. You know, it didn't make a lot of power back then. A turbo would have been much better. That was with an R trim on it at 10 pounds. Why do all bottom end kits for 6-liter LSA except 99? Because you have a different crank in the 99. We were telling guys for years that they should have brought a cup motor. One guy brought an American Indy car out there, and he lasted about 3 or 4 miles and cracked the tub on it because there's no ground clearance, and that road's terrible. So you needed something that made a lot of power, was very aero, and had, you know, a fair amount of suspension travel and a cup motor, especially back then. If you look at the test that Road and Track did when they brought the 962 Porsche, the Lowenbrow deal, the Le Mans car, and then brought the Monte Carlo, you know, a cup car. The Monte Carlo guys just said, okay, here, go. And it went like 13 or 14 miles an hour faster than the Porsche did. The Porsche guys were working nonstop, trying to put the long tail on it and change the gearing and do all kinds of stuff. The cup guys just brought a car out and it was really fast. So they're very fast. You can make them handle fairly well, especially if you don't have to abide by all the rules in NASCAR, which you don't have to do at the Silver State. So that car could go it could go 240. 250 kilometers per hour. Yeah, that's a lot slower. What do you think of Wilson 2-inch spacers under an 850 Holley double pumper? You can't ask if a spacer isn't a universal thing. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Can you use gapless gas ported rings with boost? You probably could. I never have, but I don't know why you would for the kind of, you would spend as much money on those rings as you would on a complete junkyard motor. So it just wouldn't make sense. I'm a car lover that gets bored fast with what I'm driving. At what point on your owner's life with their Mustang did you decide to not have it as a daily driver? It was always a daily driver, even when I was racing it. I bought the car specifically to go showroom stock racing, and that's exactly what I did. I put a cage in it and ran it as a showroom stock car. So I didn't have to do a lot of mods to it other than do the cage. As I found out, everybody else's interpretation of showroom stock was different than mine. I thought showroom stock actually meant showroom stock. Their cars were a lot faster. Their cars had, Coney shocks that were housed inside factory housings, all kinds of stuff. So it was a whole different thing, but it was a good learning experience because it was, I had to go down and get my SCCA license. I had to learn how to drive. I'd have instruction. I had to do all that stuff, and it's a really good deal. I did that. I did all of the 12 silver states that I ran. I ran the cars in a sedan car. I went to the Road and Track's top speed shootout. I did the Foxtrot for Super Ford. I took it to El Mirage. All of these things, all the while, that was my only car. So it was it was a daily driver. What's the fastest I've driven? 227 in the Civic out at Bonneville is the fastest. Okay, one more minute. It's time to go. It's the weekend. My lovely gal is waiting. Man, it's all dark. I need to figure out what's going on. 227 was very easy, other than the half shaft wanting to pull out. But otherwise, it's just in that Civic was just a walk in the park. That was an answer. Old school, what do we think about what? Have you ever tested or heard of GEM fuels? I have not. 15 seconds. It is the weekend. I've got to get the Nova is basically ready to push out. We just got to push it outside and then get ready to send it off tomorrow morning. Jill DeFerrin ran a kart car around California Motor Speedway at 247. That's pretty fast. I didn't think that the kart cars went that fast around an oval. I didn't think that they could go that they could go fast enough to do that in the turns. I feel like piston rings and friction are often overlooked. If you can lower friction, great things will happen. Ooh. Okay. Old school, you can't keep asking the same question over and over again. That will get you kicked out. That's right. It is Friday the 13th, right? Just one more pound to boost. That's all the IndyCar guys did, especially the The stock block guys and the Buick guys did that. Yeah, showroom stock stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's probably the same now. That back then it was not at all. I mean, their engines were taken apart and blueprinted, and they were surfaced, and they were down to the minimum, and all the stuff that you would do to make it more competitive. That's really expensive to make uh, something that's supposed to be stock still be stock and have their motors make 10 or 15 or 20 horsepower more than the other ones that came off the showroom like that. The extrude hone guys were doing a bunch of those HO intake manifolds and camshafts, like I said, the shocks and the underdrive pulley stuff. And but the it gets more expensive to hide it to still make it look like it's stock. So they were not new at it, and I was brand new. I thought, oh, showroom stock racing is just going to be me, and I'm the best driver in the world, which that wasn't the case. And I also didn't have the best car in the world, and I also didn't really understand what showroom stock racing meant. And then shortly after that, the 1LE Camaros came out, and they actually had brakes and handling, and so the Mustang didn't have that. Extrude, the company is still around, yeah. Peak torque happens at peak cylinder pressure. Those two things go together. So I didn't scroll back and see why you're actually here, Tyler. What was your here? Oh, just to name esoteric things. Hey, Richard, running 96 to 2000, 454 manifold. Yours will be the last question of the night. Will they hold up for turbos? Yeah, a stock exhaust manifold, a cast iron exhaust manifold will last longer than the rest of the motor normally. Or is back pressure too high, 500 horsepower NA. If you're doing boost with it, it will work fine. And on that note, it's time to go. Thank you guys all for showing up. Hopefully you guys have all taken a look at the video that I have up on 1,000 horsepower big block stuff. It's so easy to make lots and lots of power. I'm going to go right now and figure out what the heck's going on with my camera. I will see you guys all tomorrow. And hopefully by the time I talk to you, the Nova will be gone. Do, 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 do.